Hello and welcome to the Pittsburgh City Council regular meeting of Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. My name is Michael Wentz, and with us today is Robin Schmidlin, our sign language interpreter. The following is a list of legislation to be introduced by Pittsburgh City Council. Councilman Reverend Ricky Burgess presents Bill 1743, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of Cohen and Grigsby in an amount not to exceed $4,413.50 for the professional legal services in connection with immigration matters. Bill 1744, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in the amount of $18,427.50 to Segal Waters Consulting for professional consulting services in relation to police arbitration. Councilman Anthony Coghill presents Bill 1746, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Sheraton Hotel Station Square in an amount not to exceed $8,469.78 for the City Parks Seniors Program Volunteer Recognition Gala and providing for the payment thereof. Bill 1747, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation of the city to receive grant funding from the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank's Summer Food Service Partner Support Impact Grant to purchase 2 canopies to be used by the city's mobile food truck and further providing for expenditures not to exceed $600 for this stated purpose. Councilwoman Deborah Gross presents Bill 1748, resolution amending Resolution 650 of 2018 to reallocate funding previously assigned to another agreement and to further authorize the mayor and the director of city planning to enter in a new agreement with Studio Brian Haynes for consulting services pertaining to the Sheridan Park Master Plan. Councilman Corey O'Connor presents Bill 1745, resolution authorizing the mayor and the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter on behalf of the city of Pittsburgh into an agreement or agreements with Allegheny County Department of Human Services for the city's operation of its senior community centers. Said agreement shall be for a term of 1 year at no cost to the city, with compensation to the city not to exceed $794,250. Bill 1757, resolution authorizing City Council to name the clubhouse and learning center in the Bob O'Connor Golf Course after Arnold Palmer in recognition of his lifetime achievements and influences on the city of Pittsburgh and the first tee of Pittsburgh. Councilwoman Teresa Cale Smith presents Bill 1749, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works and or the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreements to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging's Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Greenfield Healthy Active Living Center and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $66,055 for this stated purpose. Bill 1750, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Public Works, and or the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreements to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging's Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Brighton Heights Healthy Active Living Center and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $100,000 for this stated purpose. Bill 1751, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Public Works, and/or the Director of Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreements to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging's Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Homewood Healthy Active Living Center, and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $38,200 for this stated purpose. Bill 1752, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure and/or the Department of Innovation and Performance on behalf of the city to enter into an agreement with Ford Motor Company in order to receive access to the Ford City Insights visualization platform that will further the city's ability to deliver services to residents. Bill 1753, resolution approving the recommendation of the Director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure that Flora Street, Fort Duquesne Boulevard inbound and outbound, Broad Street, Ansley Street, and Oranmore Street should be paved with an asphalt accordance with the section 417.06 of the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances. Bill 1754, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to apply for grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development's Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program to provide funding for the planning of the Emerson Street Multimodal Plaza. The grant proposal includes an ask of $200,000 with a local match of $30,000 to come out of the 2020 City of Pittsburgh capital budget. In the event that the grant is awarded, this resolution provides for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $230,000 for this stated purpose. Councilwoman Erica Strausberger presents Bill 1755, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance to enter into a contract or agreement with GBWH Pittsburgh LLC, New Horizons, to provide ITIL, Information Technology Infrastructure Library, V4 Foundation, to support ongoing development of innovation and performance staff who support critical IT infrastructure for a sum not to exceed $41,600. Councilman Bruce A. Kraus presents Bill 1756, communication from City Controller Michael Lamb submitting the City of Pittsburgh Capital Projects Accounting Close and Report dated May 28, 2019, in accordance with Ordinance 29 of 2010. This concludes the reading for today, Tuesday, June 4th, 2019. Thank you and have a wonderful day.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the regular meeting of Pittsburgh City Council for today, Tuesday, June the 4th, 2019. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess. Here. Mr. Coghill.
Here.
Ms. Gross.
Here.
Mrs. Harris. Mr. Lavelle.
Here.
Mr. O'Connor.
Here.
Mrs. Cale Smith.
Here.
Mr. Strasburger. Mr. Kraus, President.
Here.
7 members present.
Thank you very much. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? We ask that you would please remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may be seated. Our first order of business are proclamations. We only have one to be presented this morning. Mr. Kai, do you want to come up? right, good morning, everyone. Whereas autism is the fastest growing developmental disability in the United States, currently affecting 1 in 68 children and more than 3 million people across the country, and is an urgent public health crisis that demands a national response. And whereas autism spectrum disorder is a complex developmental disability defined by a set of behaviors that affects individuals differently and to varying degrees. It can result in significant lifetime impairment and an individual's ability to learn, develop healthy interactive behaviors, and understand verbal as well as nonverbal communication. And whereas while the effort to address autism continues, doctors, therapists, and educators can help persons with autism overcome or adjust to its challenges by providing early, accurate diagnosis and the resulting appropriate education, intervention, and therapy that are so vital to an affected individual's growth and development. And whereas the Autism Speaks Walk is the world's largest fundraising event dedicated to improving the lives of people with autism, powered by the love of parents, godparents, siblings, friends, relatives, and supporters, the funds raised help ensure people of all abilities have access to the tools needed to lead their best lives. And the Autism Speaks Walk will take place on Saturday, June 9th, 2019 at Flagstaff Hill in Shenley Park. So now therefore be it resolved that this council of the city of Pittsburgh does hereby recognize and commend the efforts of the autism community around awareness and research, and be it further resolved that the council of the city of Pittsburgh does hereby declare Saturday, June the 9th, 2019 to be Autism Speaks Walk Day here in the city of Pittsburgh. May I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. There you are, Amy. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Come up. Who wants to say a few words? Please. Oh, please.
Hi, I'm Amy Loxton. I'm the Executive Director of Autism Speaks for Western Pennsylvania chapter, and the walk is actually Sunday, June 9th, so if you all want to come out and support us, I know it's also a big day in the city for Pittsburgh with the Pride Parade as well, but we're super excited. This is the 20th year for the Autism Walk here in Pittsburgh, and we estimate that the city has supported in over $10 million raised in its 20 years to support the families and individuals in Western PA with autism. So just want to say thank you very much, and thank you for the proclamation today.
Thank you. Would all members like to join for the photo? So again, I apologize for the faux pas, but just to correct, the walk
Sunday.
is Sunday, June the 9th. Okay, great. Okay, there are no proclamations to be read into the record, so that will take us immediately into public comment. Anyone wishing to speak before City Council this morning, of course, will have 3 minutes in which to do so. I would like to take this time to remind everyone that the rules of council clearly state that comment is limited to matters of concern, official action, or deliberation which are at this time or could at another time come before the council. We will not permit profanity, and we will maintain order at all times. We ask that you would please begin by giving your name and the neighborhood in which you reside for our public record. The green light will indicate the start of your 3 minutes. When the yellow light comes on, you'll have 1 minute to summarize your thoughts. When the red light comes on, your time will have expired. May we have our first speaker, please? Good morning. Welcome.
So my name is Laura Weens. I'm the Director of Pittsburghers for Public Transit. I'd like to say first that we at PPT were moved that City Council was so responsive to our concerns and those of partner organizations like Pittsburgh, PCRG, Pittsburgh United, Sierra Club Access, MOB, Pittsburgh Just Harvest, and ATU Local 85, and residents of the Montauk Lynn Connector Corridor when we testified at last week's Standing Committee hearing And we thank you for calling for a post-agenda hearing and public hearing on AVs, and for considering an attachment to the Knight Foundation grant bill, which you will vote upon today. We are at a pivotal moment for talking about AVs, and there are two paths we can go down. The first path, which I am partial to, asks residents in our city to name their values and evaluate whether AVs support or contradict those values. Here in Southwest PA, we have exotic cancers proliferating linked to air quality and childhood asthma rates well above the national average. Are we comfortable ignoring research that says AVs will likely cause VMT to double? This path also urges people to consider what the cost is, the actual dollars and cents of AV supportive infrastructure, and asks if we are so invested in this technology that will subsidize this risk at the expense of sidewalks and street lighting and bus service that residents have been asking for. Some folks I know argue that we're beyond this discussion. AV technology is inevitable, they say. This is the oh well path, the one where we throw our hands up and hope for the best. Then I would only say that it's not only irresponsible but immoral that our city has not held a single public discussion about AV impacts, let alone developed any plans to support all the freight and transit workers who will find themselves displaced and the low-income folks and riders with disabilities who will be left behind. Here we are at a juncture where DOMI is poised to receive nearly $500,000 to do deep engagement about AVs, and still the conversation can't get past the leading question: what are the opportunities for AV adoption that will address a community's mobility needs? You present residents with a single solution, AV technology for mobility, and all will agree that it's better than nothing. Let's be abundantly clear. We support the Knight Foundation grant. We at PPT are perhaps the most invested in community engagement and ensuring that this process is well resourced. But the content and the process of that community outreach matters. We appreciate that Councilman O'Connor has put time into drafting an attachment to the grant that you will consider today, and we understand that there are limitations inherent to modifying the use of the grant. To our council members, I urge you in this amendment to give stakeholders and residents most affected by proposed AV corridor some tools to shape that community outreach and ensure that it is informed, that it encompasses the breadth of AV impacts, and that it's effective. We're on the Shared and Autonomous Mobility Working Group, along with Bike Pittsburgh and PCRG, that the DOMI has been talking about and I think was written into the foundation of this grant. But we haven't met, we have no mandate. We didn't even know that the Knight Foundation grant was being considered, and there are notable stakeholders that are absent from that table. If there's a way for you to be able to resource us and give us some power to actually have the discussion that needs had, then I'd ask you to look into that. Thank you.
Good, thank you. May we have our next speaker, please? Good morning, Celeste.
Good morning. My name is Celeste Scott. I'm the Housing Justice Organizer for Pittsburgh United, and I just came down for the Housing Opportunity Fund to thank Council for passing a 2019 allocation plan that really did have community voice and resident voice at the forefront. We're really happy about that. Also to lift up our partners at PPT in their call for real and authentic resident engagement. We see what that really looks like and the impact that it really makes on our city when it happens. So there was a press conference last week around the down payment and closing cost assistance in Brighton Heights, where a young woman was able to buy a house. She moved from Dormont, where she was a renter about to be evicted, and she was able to use the Housing Opportunity Fund to buy a house, a beautiful house. And so we're just really happy about the impacts that it is making and it will make, and to work with you in the future. And so we want to thank you for that. And also to see Kelly here is amazing. So welcome, and I'm glad to see her here working on equity, racial equity in the city. And also happy People's Pride. So have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Celeste. Okay, may we have our next speaker, please? Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Danielle Graham Robinson. I live in Brighton Heights, and I'm also a realtor. I am here to also voice my support and thanks for your support of the Housing Opportunity Fund. I have been able to close 2 properties. The first one was in Overbrook. The second one was in Carrick. I have 1 under contract, and I have 4 more clients that are looking to buy in the city of Pittsburgh, who have gone through the program to utilize the funds and have received eligibility letters. So these are folks who have been approved for first mortgages that we're probably a little bit too short to actually purchase something livable in the city of Pittsburgh, but because of the additional funds that they receive through the Housing Opportunity Fund, they are able to become homeowners. So I thank you on their behalf, and I also thank you because this helps me as a realtor to work with people in the city that I live in and the city I love. So thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. Great. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Steve Palonis, President Business Agent of ATU Local 85. I'm here today to let you know that in Cincinnati, Ohio, right now, they're running autonomous vehicles and our operators are losing jobs in Cincinnati. The ATU is comprised of about 250,000 people around the United States and Canada. And this has to be public. There has to be more public say-so on our side and your side that we can go through this grant. We don't disapprove of the grant, but we should have more public say-so. That's what I got to tell you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please. Thank you. Good morning. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Phyllis Gafour, and up until January, I was a resident of the Middle Hill. I am now living in Elliott. They don't have emergency senior housing, and I found it necessary because when I approached the Housing Opportunity Fund, I got the runaround, and I got the runaround on the phone. I desperately needed help to fix conditions in my house that were caused by the city of Pittsburgh. And now I've had to relocate, and I'm not very happy. And I've gone to a previous housing seminar and also was told untruths, and I'm very resentful of that. So I would like to say thank you for moving the Housing Opportunity Fund forward, but in the Black communities, especially Homewood and the Hill, we need help. We need help, and we can't take out another 20-year mortgage at age of 60, 65. We can't do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, may we have our next speaker, please? Hey, good morning, Dr. Miller.
Dr. Ronald N. Miller, Pittsburgh City, Belts Hoover, and Topeka, Kansas. Global Intelligence Society candidate for President of the United States 2020, cgsii.rlm.globalintelligence@gmail.com. June is Global Intelligence Society sponsored Asian Intelligence Month. My PC will play after the ad. Buy the albums, any format, artisan, for you, right on time, by the music writer, performer, producer, world music, I think, genius, Tatsuro Yamashita of Japan. A general council concern is USA, Japan, and Pittsburgh Japanese city linkage. One specific concern has to do with the new Tenno of Japan, Naruhito. Another specific concern is with sumo. Will it take off in Pittsburgh? Japan has sumo as an old thing. It was attended by Mr. Trump and Abe-san last month, ending with Big Belly Trump presenting a U.S.-American trophy to the sumo match winner without Nihongo, without Japanese. Did that make you ecstatic, Mr. Krause? District representatives? Maybe Mr. Peduto and Mr. Trump can do a sumo. Too many U.S.-American sumo is silly, it's stupid. Two nearly naked, taller and larger than average otoko, Nihonjin banging each other, bumping each other. To most Japanese, this silly impression clashes with their serious interpretation. The two sumo combatants start only after a Shinto religious rite that purifies the area of fighting. Shinto, the divine way, is a form of religion focusing on the uniqueness of the Nihon Kokomin, the people of Japan, having come from Amaterasu, the sun goddess. The sumo-jin circle the sun on the mat, spreading rice and speaking terse Shinto ritualese. The martial sumo combatants symbolize the necessity of Japan being in control of the military defense of Nihon and the need for Japanese to samuraize this control by being the best and the best defenders. To be freed from the oppressive control of the defense of their nation, Kokonihon, by the USA is at the underlying core of what more than 90% of Japanese citizens want. U.S. American control of the national identity of Japan is suffocating the Japanese like the European Union is suffocating the United Kingdom. U.S. American control should be eliminated. Prime Minister Abe succeeded in getting Mr. Trump to indirectly support this idea via Trump's presence at sumo and Trump's presentation of an award, an American award for sumo excellence. A formal legal Nichibei Dome, I have advocated a Japanese-U.S. American alliance should be put into place that puts Japan, the Japanese government, at the head of its own defense.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Miller. May we have our next speaker, please? Good morning. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Alethea Sims. I'm the president of the Coalition of Organized Residents of East Liberty, and I can't write and talk at the same time. Anyway, I understand that I am the first, well, by I-Corps, it's the first nonprofit to participate in the Housing Opportunity Fund with a developer in a project. And there's some things I've seen that needed to be tweaked, and I will probably address that with the URA and the Housing Opportunity Fund Board. This is a chance for me to tweak it. I'll welcome your input when I'm done later on. 3 things I've noticed. 1, if a nonprofit is going to work with a developer, there should be a way for that nonprofit to have all the information. I was unaware of the dollars and cents and everything. All I knew was knowing that I'd be working with a developer. As a nonprofit, going to be a part of it, we should be a complete part of it. And part number 2, whenever there is funding granted for a project, that nonprofit should get at least 5% of whatever money was granted. That way the nonprofit can do its share reasonably. Number 3, let's make sure that if a developer and subcontractor are going to partner with a nonprofit, that there's a real need for that nonprofit to participate, not just, a name on paper. That's kind of insulting to the nonprofits. That's all I have to say, and which is good because I can finish writing. Thank you.
Thank you. May we have our next speaker, please? Is there anyone else wishing to speak before City Council this morning? Okay, that will close the public comment portion of the council meeting. Take us into presentation of papers. Our first committee of the morning is our Committee of Finance and Law, and our chair is Councilman Burgess. Good morning. Thank you, Councilman.
Mr. President.
Councilman Reverend Burgess presents Bill number 1743, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in favor of Coing and Grisby in an amount not to exceed $4,413.50 for professional legal services in connection with immigration matters. Bill number 1744, resolution authorizing the issuing of a warrant in the amount of $18,427.50 to Segal Waters Consulting for professional consulting services in relation to police arbitration.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilman Cogho, our Chair of Urban Recreation.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Yes, I told him to talk.
Councilman Coghill presents Bill number 1746, resolution authorizing the issuance of a warrant in favor of the Sheraton Hotel Station Square in an amount not to exceed $8,469.78 for City Park Seniors Program Volunteer Recognition Gala and providing for the payment thereof. Bill number 1747, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Parks and Recreation of the city to receive grant funding from the Greater Pittsburgh Community Food Bank Summer Food Service Partner Support Impact Grant to purchase 2 canopies to be used by the city's mobile food truck and further providing for expenditures not to exceed $600 for this stated purpose.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Grosser, Chair of Land Use and Economic Development. Councilwoman, thank you.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill number 1748, resolution amending Resolution number 650 to reallocate funding previously assigned to another agreement and to further authorize the mayor and director of city planning to enter into an agreement with Studio Brian Hayes for consulting services pertaining to the Sheridan Park Master Plan.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Harris, our Chair of Human Resources.
Where's Mr. House?
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Lavelle, our Chair of Public Safety Services. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman O'Connor, our Chair of Intergovernmental Affairs.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman O'Connor presents Bill number 1745, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to enter on behalf of the city into an agreement with the Allegheny County Department of Human Services for the city's operation of its senior community centers. Said agreement shall be for a term of 1 year at a cost to the city with compensation not to exceed $794,250. Bill number 1757, resolution authorizing City Council to name the Clubhouse and Learning Center in the Bob O'Connor Golf Course after Arnold Palmer in recognition of his lifetime achievements and influences on the city and the first tee of Pittsburgh.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Teresa Kell Smith, our Chair of Public Works Services. Councilman O'Connor for Councilwoman Kell Smith. Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Kell Smith presents Bill number 1749, resolution authorizing the mayor, the director of the Department of Public Works, and/or the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreements to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Greenfield Healthy Active Living Center, and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $66,055 for this stated purpose. Bill number 1750, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Public Works and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreement to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging's Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Brighton Heights Healthy Active Living Center, and further providing for an agreement not to exceed $100,000 for this stated purpose. Bill number 1751, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Public Works and the director of the Department of Parks and Recreation to execute relevant agreement to receive grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Aging Senior Community Center Grant Program to renovate the Homewood Healthy Active Living Center, and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $38,200 for this stated purpose. Bill number 1752, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of DOMI and the Department of INP on behalf of the city to enter into an agreement with Ford Motor Company in order to receive access to the Ford Cities Insight digitalization platform that will further the city's ability to deliver services to residents. Bill number 1753, resolution approving the recommendation of the Director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure that Flora Street, Fort Duquesne Boulevard inbound and outbound, Broad Street, Ansley Street, and Oranmore Street be paved with asphalt, accordance with Section 41706 of the Pittsburgh Code of Ordinances. Bill number 1754, resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of Mobility and Infrastructure to apply for grant funding from the Pennsylvania Department of Community and Economic Development's Greenways, Trails, and Recreation Program to provide funding for the planning of the Emerson Street multi-modular path and plaza. The grant proposal includes an ask of $200,000 with a local match of $30,000 to come out of the 2020 City of Pittsburgh capital budget. In the event the grant is awarded, this resolution provides for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $230,000 for this stated purpose.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilwoman Strasburger, our Chair of Innovation, Performance, and Asset Management. May I have Councilwoman Kiel Smith for Councilwoman Strasburger?
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Strasburger presents Bill number 1755, resolution authorizing the mayor and the director of the Department of Innovation and Performance to enter into a contract with GBWH Pittsburgh LLC, New Horizons, to provide ITIL VA Foundation to support ongoing development of innovation and performance staff to support critical IT infrastructure for a sum not to exceed $41,600.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. The chair has two communications, and I will need a motion to receive and file, please. Thank you.
Council President Kraus presents Bill number 1756, communication from City Controller Michael Lamb, submitting the City of Pittsburgh Capital Projects Accounting Close and Report dated May 28, 2019, in accordance with Ordinance 29 of 2010. Bill number 1758, communication from John H. Patterson, Executive Director of Pittsburgh Community Television Corporation, submitting PCTV's 2018 Annual Report.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. May I have a motion to receive and file, please?
So moved. Second.
Second. Discussion? Then seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? So moved. Thank you. I do have, under unfinished business, I'll need a motion to approve pre-agenda interviews for the appointments to commission on the Clean Pittsburgh Commission. Excuse me.
So moved. Second.
We're going to read them first. Thank you, though.
Okay. Bill number 1647, resolution appointing Alfonso Salone as a commissioner of the Clean Pittsburgh Commission of the City for a term to expire April 30th, 2023. Bill number 1664, resolution appointing Rachel Naraki as a commissioner of the Clean Pittsburgh Commissioner of the City for a term to expire April 30th, 2023. Bill number 1665, resolution appointing Sally Stadelman as a commissioner of the Clean Pittsburgh Commission of the City for a term to expire April 30th, 2023.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Being that the interviews took place this past Wednesday as a pre-agenda item, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
In a second. Do we have discussion? Then seeing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Motion carries. Thank you. Our next order of business then is reports of committee for final action. We'll begin with Councilman Burgess, our Chair of Finance and Law. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Reverend Burgess presents Bill number 1739, report of the Committee on Finance and Law for May 29, 2019, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 1689, resolution authorizing the mayor and the Office of Management and Budget to enter into a grant agreement with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development to accept funds from the Appalachian Regional Commission for activities in relation to the Associated Masters Plumbers of Allegheny County Training Facilities Renovation Project, and further authorizing the Director of the Office of Management and Budget to expend said funds for this stated purpose.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. For the reading and the title of this bill under our Committee on Finance and Law, further discussion begins with Councilwoman Kiel Smith.
I just want to again thank everyone who's worked on the EMPAC training facility funding. It's in Sheridan, and we've received a lot of state funding, city funding, federal funding. It's received a lot of help, and it really has changed a lot for the community. And not only do they have security cameras up, not only do they open the facility so we can have community events and meetings there, they have really done a lot of outreach with funding that the governor's office recently awarded them to provide training. to the community, and their classes have gone from almost 0% minority to not this next graduating class. It was just conveyed to me by the plumbers that their next graduating class is 95% minorities. So I think it is really helping that community, and that funding is really and that building has just been a real benefit to the Sheridan neighborhood. They're real true community partners. They've given us the access. When I first got the building, I asked for access to their park that they had. It was community garden, which is now known as Allendale Acres. It's now a community garden for the community, and we received all the equipment we were going to put in for Pittsburgh Public Schools for a playground, and there was some dispute over who was paying for the safety surface, and the school district, now our school board member has worked with the school district to put in a new playground at that site, and we'll be able to use that playground at another location in Sheridan. So it's really benefiting the community in so many different ways. I just want to thank everybody who's recognized and realized the importance of that building and funding that. One of the first significant projects in Sheridan. And this past week, we also dedicated the garden, the green infrastructure project that was started back when Alan Hertzberg was in office, but it wasn't funded until I was in office, working on the Alcoasand border with Alcoasand and Congressman Doyle to get that funding. So $6 million into Sheridan on that project and millions of dollars onto this plumbers bill. You can finally start to see money coming into the West End. So
Congratulations,
thank you to
Councilwoman.
everybody.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have further discussion on the bills under Finance and Law? Okay, seeing none, the bill is now ready for final action, and all in favor of the passage of the bill will vote aye when their names are called. Those opposed will vote no, and would the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mrs. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Mrs. Kale Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus, President.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes, bill passed.
Thank you very much. The bill, then having received the legally required number of votes, is finally passed. Our next committee is our Committee on Public Works Services, and our chair is Councilwoman Teresa Kale Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Councilwoman Kell Smith presents Bill number 1740, Report of the Committee on Public Works for May 29, 2019, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 1641, Resolution authorizing the mayor and director of the Department of DOMI to execute relative agreement to receive grant funding from the John S. and James L. Knight Foundation to provide support for DOMI to build upon existing autonomous vehicle testing and a planned autonomous deployment by expanding public neighborhood engagement efforts regarding how AVs are deployed and managed, and further providing for an agreement and expenditures not to exceed $410,539 for this stated purpose. Bill number 1701, resolution granting unto City Reformed Church their successors and assigns the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense a handicap ramp at 3929 Coleman Street in the 15th Ward, 5th Council District. Bill number 1702, resolution granting unto City Studio their successors and assigns the privilege and license to construct, maintain, and use at their own cost and expense a handicap ramp and railing at 2700, 2702 Shadeland Avenue in the 27th Ward, 1st Council District. Bill number 1728, resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 850, providing for the design, repairs, maintenance, improvements, emergencies, and/or the purchase of materials, equipment, and supplies in connections with the Winsell Avenue, Carnahan Road intersection project to account for bid amount higher than originally anticipated, but not to exceed $3,886,871.33. Bill number 1732, resolution providing for a resolution to extend city controller contract with Allies Communication by extending the term of the agreement through December 31st, 2019, and an additional cost not to exceed $50,000 for fleet GPS tracking services. Bill number 1736, resolution amending and supplementing resolution number 370, providing for the construction of the Southside Neighborhood Streets project to account for bid amount higher than originally anticipated and not to exceed $892,017.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You've heard the reading and the title of the bills under our Public Works Services Committee. Further discussion begins with Councilman O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. President. In front of you, we have an attachment to Bill 1641. I just need to ask the clerk, technically, I'm making a motion to attach or a motion to amend with the attachment. It's my verbiage. Okay, so motion to amend with the attachment.
Second. In discussion.
So the attachment that we have present tried to do a lot with a little bit of time, but I want to thank a number of people that are in the audience today for helping us get through this. What we did was we added a layer that wherever the Knight Foundation grant, whichever neighborhoods it goes to, will have a neighborhood advisory panel, as well as adding somebody from the labor unions, environmental policy organizations, and representatives of the disability rights organizations, because we understand that autonomous vehicles are going to affect all of those individuals as well as the community that it's going to impact. So we added that level to that, as well as some reporting back to the city, especially reporting back to council as to what the findings of this grant will do to impact the future of our city, especially when we're talking about mobility and autonomous vehicles. So that's what we have added, so I don't really have anything further on the attachment.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend. We have a second. We're in discussion. I'm going to go to the chair, Councilwoman Kell-Smith, next.
Thank you. I just want to thank Councilman O'Connor and the groups for coming out and making us aware of their concerns. I held this bill now for 3 weeks. It's been since we've had time to make some changes and amendments to it. And Councilman O'Connor and his amazing staff have really worked really hard to address the concerns of the public. But I want to make it clear, this grant is not saying, okay, we're ready to go forward with this project. This grant is to hear what the public wants. It is to have those conversations. It's to have the dialogue with the public that people are saying they want to have. But we've also added to that with Councilwoman Harris's help last week, called for a public hearing, and Councilman O'Connor and I agreed to a post agenda. So between several of us working together, we were able to get some of the things in place that we need to have in place. But I want to thank Councilman O'Connor because he really listens to what people are saying and hears what people are, and tries to come up with a solution in that regard. And I want to thank him for giving me the opportunity to make sure that labor was included and the public as well. In general, because I wanted to make sure that people were heard. I do have concerns. I have the same concerns the public has about the vehicles and some of the comments we're hearing. So I do think that it's a conversation we need to have, and we will start that with our post-agenda and public hearing. But I think in making sure that the public has a voice at the table when projects actually start coming to fruition is really important, and making sure the right people at the table, because that could differ depending on what community they're in. And so I think making sure that everybody, no matter where the projects will be, will have a voice, and especially the folks here and the folks that some of them have been at the table, but labor has not been, is my understanding, or not to the extent that we're giving them now, to make sure that it's legislated, that they have a voice at the table. And it's something now that's raised our concerns, so we're going to start asking questions and looking into things. And Councilman O'Connor has already begun. Chief of Staff Gilman has already been responding to all of us. You have looked into things already. So I think a lot of us have been doing some things over this course of the 3 weeks. But I want to thank the public for coming and making us aware of their concerns, and to know that some of us do share those concerns. But at the same time, if we want to have those conversations, this funding will help us to have those.
And I would just add Councilwoman Gross's office as well.
Yeah, I don't know what everybody else did. I
Right,
just
no,
know,
I
I know who I had talked to,
Yeah.
and I know Councilwoman Gross has I think you have concerns in general with the whole thing. I know a lot of the companies are in your district, but I know you still have some concerns with this whole thing, with the whole thought process behind it all. So, yeah.
Okay,
Councilwoman
thank
Gross.
you. Councilwoman Gross.
Yes, thank you so much. So I just want to echo what Councilwoman Smith and Councilman O'Connor said, but further acknowledge that the documents I have in front of me and to name that are from these organizations: Pittsburghers for Public Transit, the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 85, Bike Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh Community Reinvestment Group, Sierra Club, Access Mob Pittsburgh, residents of the communities impacted by the proposed Mon-Oakland connector. So Councilman O'Connor has this amendment in front of us, and we were trying to kind of walk this line about what can council do to express kind of what it expects to hear from the administration. Council does not get to administer this $500,000. It's the administration's job to administer. And yet we can also have our own conversation. And one of the things that you do not see in the amendment, with which these groups that have been working together and have come to an agreement on, is to have this conversation about the full spectrum. I'm quoting here from the notes that they've given to council members: the full spectrum of impacts of autonomous vehicles, including on labor, the economy, pedestrian safety, mobility and public transit, land use, the environment, and data privacy. So while there is very general language in the amendment that the administration should, that council's merely recommending to the administration that the administration and DOMI impanel an advisory group, that it have labor union representatives, that it have residents of neighborhoods on that panel, labor unions, I think, policy organizations, environmental policy organizations, and disability rights organizations. Council is expecting, I think, to hear back, would like to hear back from the administration of this $500,000, that this group had conversations on these topics. And if they do not, we have the capacity to have our own conversations on those topics. Because I think that we can all agree that these are the kinds of things that are impacted by the advent of autonomous vehicles in our streets. So we've started with the public hearing and the post-agenda. And we can continue this conversation until we feel that the public has both the understanding and the council members have a full understanding about these topics. And as I always acknowledge with technology, it is a moving target. It's not that anyone in any city understands these things fully. But we need to have the discussion together and both learning about them and then figuring out for ourselves what we're comfortable with in Pittsburgh.
Thanks,
Right, so thank you.
Pleasure. Councilman Cargill.
Yes, I want to thank Councilman O'Connor to making the amendments, particularly bringing the labor union to the table. At first, it seemed really harmless. I mean, this whole thing, it's money to study, and it's great, and it doesn't cost us anything. However, I have some concerns, and maybe it's my ignorance to this, because I was talking to Laura this morning, and to think that we're just years away from replacing jobs, meaning bus drivers and transit Local 85 members. That's a concern of mine, and I just want to let Steve here today know, and I spoke with him briefly last week, that when I see that it's actually replacing jobs in Ohio at this point, I guess I felt like that was light years away, not just years away. So certainly has my attention, and I'll approve it today just because, I don't want to lose it. And I think, a lot of good can come from it. But when it starts replacing jobs, that's when it's got my attention. And, I'll look for that in the future too.
Yep, thanks, Councilman. I'm going to go to Councilwoman Harris next. I'll come back to you, Councilwoman.
Are we just voting on the amendment right now?
Right now, just the amendment, Councilwoman.
My hands for after.
Okay. Councilwoman?
I just want to say this is one grant just to have these conversations, but if council's not comfortable, and I will say this to DOMI, I don't think that they should be applying for any additional grants until they talk to us to make sure that we're comfortable with it, when the public is comfortable with this direction. I think that if it comes again, council's going to say we're not going to feel like we're in a crunch that we have to accept something. So I think it behooves them to make sure that they're working with us, and jobs are absolutely on top of our list, making sure we're securing the jobs for the people that have been working in this field for decades. I don't want to see anybody pushed out. And as I mentioned, my niece lives in Berkeley and sent me some really interesting articles about how Berkeley and California have lost hundreds of these types of companies because it's not the direction that they realize the impact to the human impact these types of advancements have. And so I just want to say what seems great and seems like we're moving into the future may not really be what the direction Pittsburgh wants to go in, and may not really benefit the future of Pittsburgh. When we've depended on one industry too much for too long, we saw what happened to the city of Pittsburgh before, especially when that industry is no longer producing the types of jobs and holding the types of jobs, and the economy is not what it was. So we saw what happened to Pittsburgh when the steel mill collapsed and all the things happened there. We don't want to put too much over-reliance on this type of industry in Pittsburgh. At least I don't. I think we should have multiple things going on, and I think we do somewhat with the meds and eds and some other stuff. So I think that making sure that we're very open to the idea that maybe this is not what's the best direction for Pittsburgh. I think we have to have those conversations, but I think council is going to have a say on what happens in the future.
That's what we do, Councilwoman.
So make sure that they talk to us and work with us before you go applying for another grant that next time we're going to say no to.
Okay. All right, so pleasure of council, voice vote on the amendment, okay? All right, all in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions? Okay, amendment passes. We are now on the amended bill, and I'll go to Councilwoman Harris.
Yes, I have a problem with this is just an amendment and an add-on. And through the bill, it talks about the plan of deployment in every paragraph. We did not have a public hearing yet, nor did we have the post agenda. And this is to build upon the existing for testing and planning and deployment, and it's in each sense. So I'm not comfortable, and I'll be abstaining on this today.
Okay, thank you. All right, so without further discussion then on the amended bill, the bills under our Public Works Services Committee are ready for final action, and all in favor of the passage of the bills will vote aye when their names are called. Those opposed will vote no, and would the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mrs. Harris.
Abstain. Just on one bill are we voting on, or all?
No, on all bills. So
Okay.
you wish to...
Aye on all bills except for 1641.
1641.
I'll abstain on.
Mr. Lavelle. Mr. O'Connor. Mrs. Kale Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus, President.
Aye.
For Bill 1641, 7 ayes, 1 abstention, and for Bills 1701, 1702, 1728, 1732, and 1736, 8-0.
Thank you.
Bills passed.
Thank you. The bills then, having received the legally required number of votes, have finally passed. I would only offer the comment that this is what makes this council so great, and it is the camaraderie and the communication between members when we take to task what needs to be handled, and we handle it. And you guys make me very proud to be a part of this body. Thank you. Our next committee then is our Committee on Land Use and Economic Development. Our chair then, of course, is Councilwoman Deborah Gross.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Councilwoman Gross presents Bill number 1741, report to the Committee on Land Use and Economic Development for May 29, 2019, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 1691, resolution amending Resolution 282, so as to correct typographical errors and to perform a name change from Alliance for Health and Well-Being to Allies for Health Plus Well-Being. Bill number 1692, resolution amending Resolution 283, so as to correct typographical errors and to perform a name change from Alliance for Health and Well-Being to Allies for Health Plus Well-Being. Bill number 1693, resolution amending Resolution number 201, so as to reprogram funds within City Council from Hill Dance Academy Theater and Neighborhood Works, WPA, and transfer these funds to Shenley Heights Community Development Program, $6,000. Bill number 1694, resolution amending Resolution number 202, so as to reprogram funds within City Council from Hill Dance Academy Theater and Neighborhood Works, WPA, and transfer these funds to Shenley Heights Community Development Program, $6,000. Bill number 1695, resolution amending resolution number 55, so as to reprogram funds within City Council from Hill Dance Academy Theater and transfer these funds to Manchester Citizens Corporation, $5,000. Bill number 1696, resolution amending resolution number 54, so as to reprogram funds within City Council from Hill Dance Academy Theater and transfer these funds to Manchester Citizens Corporation, $5,000.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You have heard the reading and the title of the bills. Under our Committee on Land Use and Economic Development, do we have further discussion on any of the bills? Then seeing none, the bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills will vote aye when their names are called. Those opposed will vote no. And would the clerk please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross. Aye. Mrs. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor.
Aye.
Mrs. Cale Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus, President.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes, bills passed.
Thank you very much. The bills, having received the legally required number of votes, have finally passed. I believe our final committee of the morning is our Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs, and our chair is Councilman O'Connor. Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman O'Connor presents Bill number 1742, report of the Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs for May 29, 2019, with an affirmative recommendation. Bill number 1697, resolution adopting plan revision to the City of Pittsburgh's official sewer facilities plan for Bracken Ridge phase of the residents of Oak Hill, which is the ongoing redevelopment of the former Aliquippa Terrace Housing Project located along Oak Hill Drive between Wadsworth Street and Bracken Ridge Street in the 5th Ward of the city. Bill number 1698, resolution authorizing the approval of the 2019 Housing Opportunity Fund Annual Allocation Plan, Council Districts All. Bill number 1699, resolution authorizing the URA to acquire all the city's right, title, and interest, if any, and to the publicly owned property in the 15th Ward of the city designated in the deed registry, Council District number 5, 168 Hazelwood Avenue. Bill number 1700, resolution authorizing the URA to acquire all the city's rights, title, and interest, if any, and to the publicly owned properties in the 21st Ward of the city, Council District 6, 1817 Fulton Street, 130507 Columbus Avenue, 1321 North Franklin Street, 1513 Allegheny Avenue, 1020 Liverpool Street, and 1206 West North Avenue.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You have heard the reading and the title of the bills under our Committee on Intergovernmental Affairs. We begin further conversation with Councilwoman Cale Smith.
Thank you. I just want to talk briefly about the affordable housing, the Opportunity Fund, the Housing Opportunity Fund, and the plan. And I'm really happy to be a part of this committee and seeing some of the work that they're doing. I am really disgusted with our law department because I have asked now for almost 3 months if the council is legally able to vote on the use of the rental registry funding, or rental assistance, and we have not gotten an answer. And so it makes me think that we're not able to, because I've been hearing rumors that, we're not able to use the funds in that regard, even if we're allocating it to an organization. And it would, a simple yes, we can use it that way, would make me feel so much more comfortable the council was doing what we're legally able to do. So, I mean, the fact that I've asked the law department about 3 months ago and they still can't get that answer, it makes me, question whether or not we're using these funds in the right way and whether council can vote that way, or 2, whether there's such incompetency there that we need to address it when the budget comes up. And I think when they come asking for funding for the law department, we need to make sure that, one, we have somebody for city council, we talked about this once before, that we can go to and get those answers right away, so we're not waiting for somebody to give us a simple answer, something as simple as this. And if they're that incompetent, then we need to address what's going on in that law department, that they can't give a simple answer as to whether or not we can use these funds in this way. We've heard from the URA's attorneys, we've heard from the different solicitors. We've not heard from our own city solicitors who are supposed to look out over for council's interest and the interest of the public. We've not heard from them, and I've sent numerous requests about it, and followed up publicly last week and publicly again this week. And Reverend, I know you were going to ask. I don't know if you had a chance to. Did you not?
Did not.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No, it shouldn't take you to have to ask for the same question I've asked. Just because you're the finance chair shouldn't mean you get a different answer or a quicker answer. I mean, they should answer the question. I mean, it almost makes me want to recommit this bill, but I really want to say that I don't want to do it because even though my district, I'm going to be honest with you, my district is not supportive of this overall. The majority of people in my district are not supportive, but I think that there's a lot of value in this program, and so I don't want to hold up the whole program because of the incompetency or the inability to answer one simple question from our law department. And so I actually hold our solicitor responsible for this because I've copied her on the emails.
Okay. Councilwoman, is your hand up?
Yes.
Okay. Councilwoman Harris.
I just want to say, not on the bill, but I'm feeling the same way you are, Councilwoman Smith. I put a right to know in, and they said they needed 30 more days to throw a bunch of budget books at me, and I'll give you the correct answers. So there has to be a problem down there in the law office because I did call the head attorney up and nothing has happened. So I'll probably have to appeal to the state.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to say, I think there's people on here that would look at this bill all over again. And if they really want us opening this back up, I don't think that's really what they want us to do. I think it behooves them to give us an answer, so we have something in writing to protect ourselves.
Councilman Coghill.
Yeah, I just wanted to take this time. I neglected to thank Celeste last week and Danielle from our real estate agent who's actually, putting this fund to use. And I do believe the real estate agents are really our best source of advertising for this. My concern with it was always, how am I going to get the word out there to the people? Not everybody believe it or not, watches us on TV. But I just wanted to thank Celeste, and, for them informing me and making me feel comfortable that we are going to get the word out there. And Danielle, that have the first 2 sales of this in my district, was just music to my ears. So that's all.
They tune in for you, Councilman.
And I'm just going to add, can I just add my last comment? I just want to say that I agree that if Pittsburgh Unite has done a lot of work on this, and as a matter of fact, probably got this passed. And so they've done a lot, and I think that because of that, I don't want to upset anyone and feel like we're going down the wrong road by not supporting, because they put so many volunteer hours in this. Yeah, and it's important for the residents that do need it. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that there's a lot of value to it, and I do think that we're seeing some benefits from it in our district, even though my district may not see the whole benefit yet. I think they're getting there. They may get there, but the fact of the matter is it's helping people across the city of Pittsburgh, and I just really feel like I don't want to hold it up because of one issue. But
okay.
But keep tempting me, and we'll have to go down that road. So I'm going to say.
Councilwoman Rose.
Thank you so much. I just also want to acknowledge the public commenter who spoke to trying to get the stabilization funds to repair her own home. It was something that was really important to Councilwoman Smith and to myself, and I think to other parts of the city that have a lot of single-family homes, that we'd be able to help residents keep those homes in the family and not be forced to sell when a capital expenditure like a roof or sewer happens. And so much of our housing stock, we said this over and over again at post agendas and discussions when we were structuring the fund, are 100-year-old single-family homes. And so both as a source of keeping resident homeowners in their home, but then also resident property owners who maybe have grandma's house across the street where they have 3 affordable apartments and haven't raised the rent. When a roof or some capital need comes up on one of those properties, in my district, we're losing those properties, and then we're losing those 3 affordable apartments once it changes hands and it's converted back to an expensive single family. And so it's really critically important, I think, across the city that we help move those funds as well. And I know there are multiple demands and that the advisory panel has done an exhaustive work, but it's my understanding that there have been those funds, but they haven't been moving. And I've gotten calls from people outside of my district and inside my district who really need those funds. When a leak happens or something critical happens in your house, it's you're unable to stay in your home when something like that happens. So I look forward to seeing those parts of the fund move as well.
I'd like to say that I'll work with you, Councilman Gross, on addressing those issues and at our meeting. Our
There
board
may be
meeting.
additional things that council can do outside of the fund.
And the discretionary funds, I'm going to address that too. And I mean, that some of that stuff. I think that the council wants some better answers, and we let this go too quickly last week, to be honest with you. We should have asked the questions last week, and that, I apologize.
We can always revisit.
Yeah, but I will say that we will have a discussion here, and then I'll have a discussion over with the group.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Mr.
Thank
President.
you. Okay. The bills are now ready for final action. All in favor of the passage of the bills will vote aye when their names are called, and those opposed will vote no. Would the clerk then please call the roll?
Reverend Burgess.
Aye.
Mr. Coghill.
Aye.
Ms. Gross.
Aye.
Mrs. Harris.
Aye.
Mr. Lavelle.
Aye.
Mr. O'Connor. Mrs. Kell Smith.
Aye.
Mr. Kraus, President.
Aye.
8 ayes, 0 noes, bills passed.
Thank you very much. The bills then, having received the legally required number of votes, are finally passed. That takes us into motions and resolutions. The chair has several meeting announcements. This afternoon at 1:30, council will be in executive session in the small conference room on matters of legal nature. Tomorrow, Wednesday, June the 5th, the council will meet at 9:30 a.m. for a pre-agenda interview for appointees to the Commission on Human Relations and the Equal Opportunity Review Commission here in council chambers. The standing committee meeting will follow then immediately. As per the request of the Office of Management and Budget, the Mayor's Office of Management and Budget invites everyone to Potholes and Pierogies, a dinner and a discussion of our 2020 capital budget. These public meetings provide citizens the chance to learn about the budgeting process, to talk with residents about project priorities, and to pose questions to the panel from city departments, and to provide valuable feedback for our 2020 capital budget. The first meeting is on the evening of Thursday, June the 13th at the Children's Museum on the north side. The second one will take place Tuesday, June the 18th at the Pittsburgh Federation of Teachers on the south side. Child care and interpretive services will be available for those who register by June the 9th. And for more information, please register by going to pittsburghpa.gov/OMB/CIP. Again, that's pittsburghpa.gov/OMB/CIP. If there's nothing else then for members, may I have a motion to excuse our absent member? Nope, Councilman Burgess.
I just want to, two things. I'm listening to Councilwoman Smith, and I will suggest that council does have some. It's funny. More and more I've thought about Doug Shields. You know, Doug used to say he was the old man on council, and so I'm starting to think more and more of myself in that role, right?
We think of you that way too.
Who talks about its history. But anyway, council has the authority to select 3 staff people. We have the authority to select the clerk, we have the power to select the deputy clerk, and we have the power, if we choose to hire a solicitor, right? It's in our home rule charter that we have the power to do those 3 things. Everyone else on council's floor, though, reports to the clerk. It's, you know, although the deputy clerk is certainly picked by council, she reports to the clerk, as well as the budget office actually is a clerk employee, and all that is the clerk's. But my point is, those 3 things we can unilaterally pick, and whether we can talk about that, because we talked about that in time past, about having our own solicitor or having someone designated in the law department as specifically our solicitor. So I'll work with you, Councilwoman Smith, to address that issue. If, you know, and after recess, maybe we may want to do something. There's some things we have a couple options, and so the second thing is, I'd like for the clerk, since it was mentioned in public comment, she has filled the position of the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Policy Analyst, who happens to be in the chamber. So I asked the clerk to, and since she was mentioned at public comment, I'll ask the clerk to identify her.
Okay, so we have Kelly Ware Sebron that's joined us. And we were sending out an email, and one of the interesting things is Kelly does have a law degree, and she will be assisting us with exactly what you just requested. We'll ask her to be the liaison, whatever, with legal. But Kelly's here today, and we want to welcome her.
Thank you. Thanks, Madam Clerk. And welcome, Kelly. Look forward to working with you. And Councilman would be happy to help with any miscommunications with law.
And can I say, before I bit anybody's head off, as soon as I heard her name and realized she was related to Dara Ware Allen, she already had my respect. So
there you go.
Because she's a really great.
Okay.
So
with
great
that,
school
then,
board
may
member.
I have a motion to excuse our absent member, approve our minutes, and adjourn our meeting?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned.